All right. So you have gone through the Ross chapter 38 material. It is time to pay the piper and do the homework. So let's take some time to go over these exercises here and see what sort of questions you have. So where can we start? Well, we'll start with the parsing. It's always good to start with the parsing questions and then go to the translation exercises. So have at it. Which ones you want to go through?
Could you do number 9, please, Dr. Marshall?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at number 9 here. Okay, so we have here a couple of things. What you're always wanting to try to do is to try to identify root letters if you can find them. Sometimes there's a bunch of consonants, though, and it's kind of hard to figure out where's my root versus what are prefixes and suffixes and pronominal suffixes and that sort of thing. But you sometimes may find it easier to start on the extremities and to work your way in towards the root also. So if you, for example, look at the front end here, you have a hey, okay? This hey could be a number of different things. We've seen heys that are article heys, right? We've seen heys that are interrogative heys. And this actually follows what we know about an interrogative hey. Interrogative hey is usually prefixed with a compound schwa to a word at the beginning of a sentence. And then we also have heys that belong to verbs as part of their stem prefix. And we just went through those like right up here. The stem prefix hey is found in the hiphil, the hofal, and the nifal, right? So since we're dealing with the verb chapters, the interrogative hey is probably not as likely. Let's assume that it's not an interrogative hey, but that it is a prefix hey. Then I've got a hiphil, hofal, or nifal possibility. If this mem is the first root letter, the next root letter I have is a tav, then there's a kirik yod in between those. So I have possibly a root with a mem and a tav, and a kirik yod in the middle with a possible hiphil, hofal, or nifal stem. Which one of those stems is going to more characteristically have a kirik yod in the middle of it? The hiphil. Okay, hiphils like kirik yods and other I-class vowels sandwich in between roots 2 and 3. Now, if this is a hollow verb, I don't have 3 roots. I just have 2. So the kirik yods and I-class vowels will go between the 2 roots. All right. So what I have to ask myself is this possibly a hollow verb? And if it is it a middle vav or a middle yod? Based on your lexicon, do we have these 2 consonants with a semivowel in between? Yeah, we do. And it's the verb mut, right? It's middle vav. But it doesn't matter whether the verb hollow verb is middle vav or middle yod. In the hiphil, it's going to get a kirik yod in the middle, okay? So because that's just part of the hiphil stem. So if that's the case, I have my hiphil hey accounted for, and I have my roots accounted for. What's left is this hu dangling on the backside, and that doesn't look like any personal ending that I've ever seen. Shurik by itself would be a personal ending, but not hu. Hu must be something else. What is it?
Pronominal suffix.
Yeah, that's a pronominal suffix. Which person, gender, number pronoun is that?
3ms.
That's right. So what we've just seen with both of these in 8 and 9 is that we have 2 different forms of the 3ms pronoun that can be attached to things, right? So who is another 3ms pronoun? This is the one that can be attached as a direct object pronoun. This is the form of the 3ms pronoun that often gets attached to nouns. And remember, the infinitive is a verbal noun. And so infinitives are going to use the same pronouns that you would often attach to the singular noun. Okay? So this means that the 3ms pronoun is a direct object pronoun. Somebody is doing something to him. Okay? Now, here's what we have to go back to. So this is a hiphil something, and there's no personal ending after the tav of the last root letter. So this is either 3ms or 2ms, depending on whether it's the hiphil perfect or the hiphil imperative. Okay, we've got some possibilities there. So let's jot that down. So hiphil perfect or hiphil imperative. Now, if it's imperative, it's 2ms. If it's perfect, it's 3ms. Okay. Now, there's one other thing here that we can look at to try to gain some traction on which way to go with this, and what's that? Well, okay, I mean, we have vowel reduction here, right? So what would the hiphil perfect's hey prefix look like in the unreduced form, like the uninflected form? Here, we'll go back to our weak verb paradigm. So using kum here as our paradigm verb, mut's going to follow the same pattern here. In the hiphil perfect, it's hey kim. Do you see that sere under the hey? Yeah? You see that? Okay. But it's reduced. It's had to become a vocal shiva because the accent has shifted to the left, and when you shift your accent further away, that leaves the hey open and propertonic. It reduces the vocal shiva. And look, so whenever that happens, I get this compound shiva. In other words, the compound shiva is going to obscure whether that was a sere or whether it was something else. Now, if you look at the imperative, it's ha came, ha kimi, ha kimu, and ha kamna. Here, I've got hays, but with an A-class vowel, okay? But if I add a pronominal suffix to one of these forms, it's going to pull the stress to the back, and this is also going to go to a compound shiva, okay? So that's going to obscure whether I started with a sere or a kamet. So I can't look at that to know whether this is a hiphil perfect or a hiphil imperative, okay? So what do I do? What do I look for? Is there any other help? What's the answer key tell you? So what's the answer key tell you? Well, what I was just on was the weak verb paradigms at the end of the Ross textbook. He has a page devoted to the hollow verbs. Okay, but I'm serious. You guys have the answer key? What's the answer? Imperative. Now, what is the clue that this is an imperative and not a perfect? Yes, the last vowel before the pronominal suffix. Remember, when when we have perfect verbs and imperative verbs, and we're adding pronominal suffixes to them, which helping vowel do perfect verbs like to take before the pronominal suffix? What vowel class? I know this was a long time ago. They like A-class helping vowels. And the imperatives and the imperfects, when we have no inflectional ending but then a direct object attached after the third root letter, they like I-class helping vowels before the direct object pronominal suffix. So this sere here that you're seeing, that is really the big helper there. It's a helping vowel, not just in terms of providing a connecting vowel, but it's a helping vowel in the sense that it helps you parse this. Okay, so that's the answer. It's hiphil, imperative, 2ms plus the 3ms pronominal suffix. Now let's think about what mut means in this form. What does mut mean in the cal stem? To die. Okay, it's intransitive. There's no direct object. He died. Kaput. End of story, right? No direct object. In the hiphil, it makes that verb transitive. To cause someone to die means to do what? To kill. Exactly. And here, I would expect a direct object. He killed someone, right? But this is an imperative, so I'm not saying something as a matter of fact. I'm actually commanding something to be done. So how would you translate hamitehu? Kill him. I told you Hebrew is a violent language back in the beginning of Hebrew, didn't I? Here it is. Kill him. Hamitehu. Okay, very good. By the way, if you're ever walking around in Israel and the word goy is used in your hearing, they're talking about you. Okay, you know what goy means, right? Right. So if you ever hear somebody yell goy and then hamitehu, run. That's what you do. Run. Okay? You have been forewarned.
Dr. Marsh, do you recall what chapter the helping verb distinction could be reviewed in?
Oh, yeah. So that is chapter 24.
Thank you.
Yep. A mere 14 chapters ago. All right. Good. All right. Hey, look at number 10. Number 10's an easy one. Hey, Keem. Hey, Keem. So, how many root letters do I have, and do I have a prefix here? So I have kof and mem, right? And the hey is the prefix hey. Which stem are we looking at when I have a hey prefix and a Keurig yod theme vowel in the middle? That's looking very hiphilish, isn't it? Now, I've got what vowel class is under that hey, that hiphil hey? Is it I or A class? It's I. That's right. And that tells me that this is a hiphil perfect, right? Even your strong verb principal part sheet tells you that. You have hiphil hays in several of the hiphil forms where the hey is visible, but the only place where the hey gets an I class vowel is the hiphil perfect. Everywhere else, the hey is always A class, right? So hiphil perfect, and then I have zero ending. So which person, gender, number is zero ending on a perfect conjugation form? 3ms, yes, 3ms. So very easy. The last thing I need to know is what goes in between these two root letters that I see. A shurik or a Keurig yod. Is this middle vav or middle yod? Yeah, based on your lexical form, it's kum. It's middle yod. Middle vav, sorry. So kum. Now, what does kum mean in the cal stem? To arise, to stand. Okay? Hiphil, it's going to make it causative. To cause someone to arise or stand. So, what are some ways to translate this verb? He, what? He raised, maybe, right? Because it's going to take a direct object. So it's not that he was sitting and he got up, but rather he caused something to stand up, rise up, go up. Okay, so he raised up, he established something, like there's a pillar lying on the ground and he picked it up and stuck it in the hole, right? He established it there, or something like that. Your kid is screaming and throwing a temper tantrum and rolling around on the floor, kicking his legs, and you take that 15-year-old and you make him stand. I'm just kidding, not a 15-year-old. Hopefully you don't have any 15-year-old to do that. But you take that toddler and you may have to cause him to stand, right? So you could perform this verb on your child. All right, there you go. Other questions?
I don't need you to really go through it, but the answer key says perfect.
Oh, really? My answer key for number 11 has perfect for Ratzim. Oh boy. Oh, that's bad. Okay, so yeah, you guys should know that this is not the perfect of the verb, but the what? It's the participle. This "im" ending here could not be any other verb form than a participle, because only participles take the noun and adjective endings 0, a, t, im, and ot. Remember our Three Blind Mice song? You're trying to forget it, aren't you? Yes. So 0, a, t, 0, a, t, im, and ot, im, and ot. Okay, I'll stop there. All right, so only participles do that. So that means I'm left with rots. Okay, what's rots? There's a couple of possibilities. If this is the verb roots, which means to run, and it's hollow, then when I just have the simple kamets, that could actually be two possibilities, right? That could be the cow perfect, 3ms, or the cow participle, masculine singular. These forms are identical to each other. So you are accustomed to seeing a holum for your cow participle, right? Pokad, holech, shomea, and so forth. But with hollow verbs, you don't get any holums. Okay, it is just a long a vowel between roots, the two root letters. So rots is running and ratzim is running, but it's describing masculine plural. So this is a cow participle masculine plural here, okay? So how would we translate 11? Anachnu is what? We. And is there a copula between these two forms? There's an implied one, right? So we need to add are. We are ratzim, running. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this to you in the past or not, but this is the lexical form of the verb roots. And I remember this really struck me as a kid back when I don't know how old I was. I think I was elementary school when the TV miniseries Roots came on. This was a long time ago. Some of you will remember it because you've been around that long. But the opening scene of Roots, if I remember correctly, was an African being chased by some slave catchers, and he's running. And then, the word roots shows up. And I didn't know at the time, but the Hebrew word for, running was roots. But I've always had that strong association from my childhood memory. Anyhow. Any other questions?
Dr. Marshall?
Yep.
So this is obviously the hollow verb chapter, but is it that first A vowel under the resh that tells us that it's not ratzah?
The first A vowel. It tells you. Okay, I see. So like you're thinking maybe, is it possible that this was a verb like ratzah that's 3 hey?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. So if you had a verb ratsa that were 3 hey, the cal participle would be ro say. This would be the masculine singular, rotse. And then to make it masculine plural, what would I do? I would chop off the vowel with the mater and just add the eem. So it would be rotseem. So you're right. This would be there, that holum. And so, really get this. Up to this point, every cal participle, active participle that we've seen is it's going to have a holum or a holum vav. So this is that one difference there. Yeah. Very good. Let me draw your attention to number 12 real quickly here. We have guru. Okay, this is what I am. This is a noun, proper noun. Dr. Marshall, guru. No, I'm just kidding. So how many consonants do I have here? I only have 2, don't I? So this is a good candidate for being a hollow verb with just 2 root letters. Gimel, resh. If it is a hollow verb, then it's either middle vav or middle yod. So what does your lexicon tell you, or your vocab list, about verbs that have a gimel and a resh? What's the lexical form? Gur. And what does gur mean? To sojourn. That's right. To sojourn. How many of you remember that Joseph sojourned in Egypt, and wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, not Joseph. Moses sojourned in Egypt, and one of his children's name was Gershom. And that G-E-R first half of the name is related to this verbal root, gur, because it has to do with sojourning. Okay? Now, here's what I want you to see. So this is guru. I've got a shurik on the back side of the last root letter. So when you see shurik, what are your possibilities? Which conjugation patterns have a shurik personal ending? Does the perfect? Yep. Third common plural if it's perfect, right? Imperfects do, but here's the question. Are there any imperfect nutty prefixes before root 1? No. So I don't even have to write down imperfect here, do I? But what other forms have no prefix but the same imperfect suffixes? The imperative do, right? And so this could be an imperative, and if it's imperative, which person, gender, number? 2MP. Excellent. And that's pretty much it, okay? So here's my question. Which one of these is it going to be? What we need to know is it perfect or imperative? And then is it cal, nifal, pl, right? Hifil, and their passive counterparts. If this is a perfect verb, actually here, let me back up. We've noticed that there's no prefixing here, okay? So in the perfect of all of your verbs, look at your principal parts page and just go to the perfect form for each one. How many of your stems have no prefixing for their perfect conjugation pattern? Well, I mean, there are stem prefixes associated with perfect in some of the stems, right? 3. There are 3 stems that do not have any prefix attached before root 1. Which ones are they? Cal, PL, pual. Okay, cal, PL, pual do not have a prefix in their perfect. Okay? All right. So if this is a perfect, it could only be cal, PL, or pual. Okay. We are going to see as we start reading Ruth and start looking at more verbal forms that the hollow forms do not occur in the PL and PUL. They actually follow a modified pattern. So if this is a perfect, it could only be the cal if it's hollow. All right. Now look at your imperative forms on your principal parts. Which stems or how many stems in the imperative have no prefixing? Take a good look. Which one? Is that the only one? There's two. That's right. What's the other one? The cal and the PL. So if this is cal and PL, it's only it's imperative, right? So now I just told you that in the hollows we don't have PLs. We don't have hollows that follow a true PL pattern. So either way here, if it's perfect or imperative, there's really only one possibility for these, right? It's only cal. Now, I still have to figure out which conjugation pattern it is. Is it the perfect or is it the imperative? So how can I tell the difference? What am I going to look for?
We know that it drops out in the cal perfect, the middle.
That's right, exactly. The middle vav is never visible in the cal perfect. What vowel am I always going to get? I'm going to get that kamets if it's an active verb. Okay. So it would be gar for he sojourned and garu for they sojourned. Okay. It's the imperfect and the imperatives where the middle letter shows up as a mater. Ya, gur would be the imperfect. And if I want to get the imperative, I take the prefix and I chop it off. And I'm left with gur, which is what the form is. And now I'm adding the 2MP personal ending there. Okay? So this is the cal imperative 2MP. Garu would have been the cal perfect 3CP. So just wanted you to be able to think through that, see the difference between the perfect and the imperative, and also to remember that there aren't a whole lot of forms in Hebrew that have no prefixing at all when you're looking at the entire verbal system. All right. So with that in mind, go to 15. Go to 15 and look at Kumi here. Kumi. How many consonants do we see? I only see two, don't I? This looks like kof, mem, and what's the middle letter if it's a hollow verb? U. Yeah, shurik. Kum. What does kum mean? To arise. To arise in the cal, right? So notice what I have here. I have kumi with no prefixing before. This is a verb form with no prefix. What did we just talk about here? Well, in the perfect, I have only three places where there's no prefixing in the perfect, right? What are they? Which stems in the perfect have no prefixes? Cal, P, and Pu. That's right. The imperative also has no prefixing. No nutty prefixes anyway. But also no stem prefixes in the cal and the PL, right? We don't put the pual there because the pual just doesn't have any imperatives anyway. So, I mean, technically, if there were such a thing as a pual imperative, it wouldn't have any prefixes either. Okay? Now, this looks like a hollow verb, so can I eliminate the PL and PUL options here? Yes, I can, right? Because hollows don't occur in true PL formations. So this is either a cal perfect or a cal imperative, and what's left for me to do is to look at two things. I have a personal ending here, the Keurig yod, and I have a shurik in the middle. Which one of those can occur? Which one of these can these two things occur in, the perfect or the imperative? Only in the imperative. Remember, a cal perfect hollow verb will never show the middle vav. Its vowel will be a class. Kam, kama, kamta, kamt, kamti. Okay? So it's truly hollow in the sense that you don't see that middle vav or middle yod at all in the cal perfect there. Okay, so can't be the cal perfect. And the Keurig yod is not ever a cal perfect personal ending anyway, is it? Do we have any cal perfect personal endings with Keurig yod at the end? Nope, we don't. Do we have any imperative endings with a Keurig yod at the end? Yes, the 2FS is the imperative personal ending with Keurig yod. Okay, so, go ahead.
Is there anything other than the stress on the quote to tell you that it's not an infinitive construct with a 1CS pronominal suffix?
Okay, yes, good question. The stress matters here. That's right. So let me make one comment about this verb form, and then I'll talk about that infinitive problem. This is Kumi. Kumi. How many of you have seen that word in your English Bible, not in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament? Kumi. Yeah, I think I heard Talitha Kumi, right? You seen that? This is little girl, get up, right? It's a command to get up. This is a command. This Hebrew form, Kumi, is telling a woman or a female person, singular female, to stand up or get up or arise. Okay, so maybe that'll help you. Kumi. Now, the question was the accent mark, because not only is kum and Kumi the imperative, but the infinitive construct of kum is kum. And if I wanted to add a pronominal suffix to the infinitive construct, and I can, I could add like a Keurig yod here to say my act of getting up. My mem would have to go to the non-final form, so it can't be the boxy form, so I'll just round it here. But the accent on infinitives, when you add the pronominal suffix, the accent is always going to shift towards the pronominal suffix. So it would be kumi, kumi. And that would be the cal infinitive construct with a 1CS pronoun. Okay? So good question. My standing up. My arising.
I had a question on number 4.
All right. Very good. So we have number 4 here. Let's say the word, everybody. Ready? Shavti. Shavti. So, what is familiar about this verb? Is there anything on the front or on the back that is identifiable that we might be able to strip away and say, okay, I at least know what that is? So there's a suffix here. Is it just Keurig yod or is it tav Keurig yod? It's the tav Keurig yod here. So I do have a T ending. When I see T, I say sugar and milk. Now when I see T, what am I thinking? That's got to be, in the perfect, okay? Perfect 1CS. I do recommend that you have your principal parts page, where on the back I think we printed the inflectional boxes for all of the suffixes and prefixes that indicate person, gender, number. So if you look at the perfect, obviously you're going to see T is 1CS. So whatever this means, we know it's going to be I blanked, right? I blanked. Sounds like what we would do on a Hebrew test. I blanked. But what am I left with then? I'm left with how many consonants over here? Just two. Just two. And so I'm going to want to ask myself, is it possible that this is a hollow verb that has a middle vav or a middle yod for the lexical form? And you go to your list of words in the vocab list, and what do we have? We have shuv, right? That's one of our vocab words, shuv. So if you look over there then in the vocab list, what does shuv mean? Page 202, to return. In what stem? In the cowl, that's right. So in the cowl, shuv is to return. So if this is the cowl, it would be I returned. Now what we need to find out is this in fact the cowl perfect form of shuv? Well, one thing that we can do is check our weak verb paradigm and see what does the cowl perfect 1CS look like for our paradigm verb for the weak verbs, which is kum, right? Kum and shuv are, if I can put it this way, cut from the same cloth. Okay? And I'll just tell you, this is what would have been very helpful for the weak verbs, and I would suggest maybe you do this at the beginning in case this is handy. He doesn't put the lexical forms here, so when you start looking at these verbs, you don't really know what you're looking at in terms of the actual vocab word. But kum is the verb here. Mut is the verb here. Here you actually do get to see it. Bosh is the verb here. And seem is the verb here. Okay? So he's given you 3 middle vav forms and 1 middle yod form. This one is active. This one is active. These 2 are stative. Okay? So he doesn't tell you that in this little chart, but that's the way it's laid out. Okay, so shuv means to return. So shuv is not stative. Shuv is not shev. Shuv follows kum. Okay? It's just kum with a sheen and a bet where the kof and the mem are. So what we want to do is look at the cowl perfect. 1CS, and here it is, kamti. Just put shin bet here, okay? And do you have all the same things in your exercise? Yes, kamti, and for the homework, it's shavti. Same accent mark as well, right? Shavti, kamti. So yes, this is indeed the cowl perfect 1CS. Okay? Now, it could have been some other stems perfect, and in that case, you might want to just glance over at the nifal perfect, the hifal perfect, and hofal perfect for the 1CS and see, what do those look like? Well, they would have the T ending for sure, right? Because 1CS perfects always have T, but there's different prefixes before the first root letter in the nifal, hifil, and hofal. You see those? The nifal has a noon prefix, and then root 1. Hifil and hofal have hey prefixes, and then root 1. So we don't have any of that in shavti. So there you go. Anyhow, let's see if there's another question. Others? All right. So with number 8, we have hikono. Everybody, let's say that. Hikono. Hikono. And the ending has a holum vav here. That should look unusual to you if you're thinking of verbs, because we don't have any verb endings that have a holum vav all by itself, do we? No. If you look at your boxes, inflectional ending boxes, let me just pull that up here. Trying to remember where I saved that. Here we go. This is from the last time I was marking it up in front of students. But notice that among all the perfect personal endings, there's no holum vav there. And among all the imperfects, we have lots of prefixes, but no holum vavs over here, no holum vavs over here. And among the imperatives and participles, there ain't no holum vavs. Okay? So we are holum vavless, which means that this holum vav that we're seeing in our exercise question cannot be an actual personal ending. So it must be something else. What might it be? A pronoun. Yes, this might be a pronoun, suffixed. So, which pronoun is holum vav? That's right, that's a 3ms pronominal suffix. So for all intents and purposes, the real verb here is hick cone, okay? So just sort of strip that away, and let's just focus on this. Now I have, how many consonants are here, real consonants? 3. Hey, cough, noon, right? So I might want to think, oh, well, maybe this is root 1, root 2, root 3. That would be possible to think, but what is this verb chapter called? Hollow verbs. And hollow verbs are characterized by how many root letters? 2. And so it might be the case that Dr. Marshall and Dr. Ross want me to consider cough and noon to be my consonants, and hey might be a prefix. And if I have a prefix hey, what are my possibilities for that? Yeah, hifil, hofal, or nifal. Okay, so cough noon. If this is hollow, it's going to be kun or keen. It'll be shurik here or kirik yod. And you'll just need to now look at your vocab list. Which one of those shows up as a vocab word? Kun, right? And this is on page 282. So kun is in fact a hollow verb, okay? And so this hey could be a nifal, hifil, or a hofal hey. In the nifal, where do I see the hey? Okay, for nifal, it shows up in the imperative or the infinitive construct. And there is an alternate infinitive absolute with that hey as well, right? If it's hifil or hofal, these have hey prefixes in all the same places. In the perfect, in the what? The imperative, and both infinitives, right? Construct and absolute. So I would see the heys there. Now, looking at this actual form, I have a dagesh forte in root 1. Which one of these stems gets a hey with a dagesh forte in root 1? Only the nifal does. Okay? The hifils don't do this. If you go back to your principal parts sheet and look at your forms here. Here is the nifal's hey with a kirik under it, and in root 1, you see that doubling dot? Okay, that's good. If you go to the hifil and the hofal's heys, there's never a dagesh forte in the root 1 of your hifil and hofal hey forms. Okay, so they never put doubling dots there. The only reason you would have one is if you had a one noon verb that had a hifil hey and the noon assimilated and became a doubling dot, not in root 1, but in root 2. So anyhow, we are looking at a nifal form. Okay, so with that hey, Keurig, doubling dot, root 1, that is a nifal form. But what we need to figure out is which one of these three forms is it actually going to be. And here, it's going to be useful to go back and review your weak verb paradigm and look at the nifal's form. So remember, he's giving you kum for your paradigm verb. Just go and look at the imperative. What do you have? You have hick, comb. Hey, Keurig, doubling dot, and the theme vowel is holem vav. Does that match what we see in our exercise? It does, doesn't it? So that's a possibility. Imperative to MS. There's no inflectional ending here, so it's just the to MS form. For the nifal participle, there's no doubling dot here. So, and there's no Keurig there, so it couldn't be that. And then we've got hickom. Oh, and there's no noon here, right? Hickom and hickom. You see how those are identical to each other, and they happen to be the same as the imperative, right? So, yeah, actually, we're going to be able to do just a little bit more here. So, technically, in form, hickon could be, it can't be any of these. Hickon could be the nifal imperative to MS, the nifal infinitive construct, or the infinitive absolute. Okay, that's just hickon all by itself. Now we've got to remember we've got this pronoun added to it. That is going to allow me to eliminate one of these possibilities right off the bat. Which one of these types of verb forms can't take anything like a pronoun suffix? The absolute, right? The absolute doesn't take prefixes or suffixes. The only sort of thing an absolute, infinitive absolute can take is like a vav for and, or a interrogative hey. That's it. Okay? So it can't be the infinitive absolute. Infinitive construct over imperative then. Here's what we have to ask ourselves. What does hickon mean in the nifal? If you look at your vocab list, yeah, it gives you the cal. I mean, excuse me, you don't see a cal meaning. It's just nifal, to be established, to be prepared, or to be faithful. Okay? Now, here's the question. If this is an imperative and the 3ms is a pronominal suffix, would it make sense for that verb to take a direct object? Yes. Be established him. Or you be faithful him. No, that doesn't work. Okay? So even though technically and in form, it's theoretically possible, given the meaning of kun and the nifal, it's not a possibility, right? So it's really only possibly a nifal infinitive construct plus the 3ms suffix. So how would I translate this? Hickon as an infinitive would mean to be faithful, or the act or state of being faithful. Add the pronominal suffix, and it's telling you whose being faithful we're talking about, right? So we would want to translate this as something like his being faithful. His, being established, or his being prepared. Those would be the ways to translate that. So, does that help?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on parsing?
Number 16.
Okay. So let's look at number 16. We have muva. Muva. Say that with me. Muva. Okay. So, again, we're dealing with hollow verbs here. And I see two consonants that do make up a hollow verb. If you've learned your vocab words, then maybe this will jump out at you. What's my lexical form that has these two consonant root letters? It's bo. What does bo mean? To come, go, to come or go in or enter. Okay? And if that's what my verb is, and I'm seeing just the 2 root letters, then this mem prefix must be indicating what? It's a participle. If you go back and look at your principal parts, how many stems have mem prefixes for the participle? All but cal and nifl. So you look at the participle line and you go across. All of them have a mem except the cal and the nifl. The nifl has a what? What prefix? Noon, a noon prefix. And the cal has no prefix. It has the holum for the cal active participle. Okay? So if I see the mem here, I got to be thinking, okay, that could be a participle. After the second root letter, the last root letter, there's no ending. So if it's a participle, what person and number is 0 ending? Masculine singular. Okay? Kamate or segol tav would be feminine. Eman ot would be masculine plural, feminine plural. So last thing is I have a shurik. What vowel class is that? A, I, or U class? That's U class. And which stem wants to take a U class vowel with the prefix mem in the participle? The hofal. The hofal. Under the strong verb, the what would be that U class vowel usually? Here, we'll put it up here. There's my mem prefix. What is that vowel? Is that a kametz or a kametz katuf? That's a kametz katuf, which is a short O. Mofkad. Mofkad. So that is a U class vowel, right? So usually my mem gets a U class vowel for the hofal participle. Hifil, I get an A class vowel. Okay? So why is this important to know? Why is it important to know vowel class? Because sometimes the vowel class will still be a U, but it won't be the same U class vowel, right? In our situation, we have a U class, but it's the shurik, right? But that still is telling me that the stem is hofal. Okay? Now, once I figured all that out, I've got the parsing done, it would behoove you to grab your weak verb paradigm and say, okay, I think that's a hofal participle masculine singular. Let's go look at the one in the paradigm and see if it matches. Move-ah. Move-ah. Okay? So, back to the weak verb paradigms, and we've got, where are you, weak verb? Here we go. Here's our hofal participle right here. Mu-kam. Mu-kam. Just change a bet and I aleph in there. And do we have the same form? Mu-kam, move-ah. There we go. Same thing, right? So that's good. We've parsed it properly. Now, can we translate it? What does bo mean in the cal? Let's say to go in. To go in. In the hifil, what does it mean? To bring in. And the hofal makes the hifil meaning passive. So this would be brought in. Okay? Now, we have no context for it. So we don't know if this would be in a sentence that would be something like he was brought in or the brought in cat or dog or rat, right? Like here's what the cat dragged in. And whatever the cat dragged in would be the brought in thing, right? The brought in rat or mouse.
When you say the one brought in, you're classifying that as a participle substantive, right?
Yes. So a muva would be a brought in one. If I had the article ha muva, then it would be the brought in one or the brought in thing. The defiled thing. All right. Other questions? By the way, when we have hollow verbs, the lexical form is always which form? The cal infinitive construct. Exactly. So when you see nu sam, you have nous here. Is that identical to your lexical form for this verb? Nous? I'm not talking about the parts outside. I mean the nous part. Yeah, that is your lexical form. Okay? And it's got the bet prefix and the suffix. So that certainly is the life of an infinitive construct, to be able to attach prepositions to it and pronouns after it, right? So this is in, their, fleeing. That is to say, when they flee. Okay.
That's true for number 5 too, right?
Yes. So here we have lavine. Lavine. This lamed is not part of a root letter of a verb. It's a lamed prefix. And here I just have bet and noon. And the question is, what hollow verb do I have that has those two consonants? And the answer is bean. Okay? And it happens to match this, except the dagesh is gone because of that vowel before it. So that's also the cal infinitive construct. In order to bean. What is bean? To understand or discern. So remember, the lameds often attach purpose to the infinitive. To perceive, in order to perceive. All right. Other questions?